we were talking about standard presentation. And then I was asked, Nica, what is your sales presentation? I said, this is my sales presentation. And then one of the council members said, really? That's it? How can you do the sales with this presentation? I said, that's how I do all the sales with this presentation, right? It doesn't really matter if it's a $100,000 policy, $1 million policy, $25 million policy, $30 million, it's all same sales presentation, right? So this is how I'm gonna give it all to you. Hopefully you can take some nuggets that you can apply, right? Whatever works for you. So first of all, you always need to remember you have to understand the client's buying process. That's the bottom line. If you're speaking with the person who doesn't make the decision, you can speak you can do 10 presentations, and in the end, they're still not going to be able to make the decision, right? That's first of all, who is the decision maker? How did you find out? You need to ask them, what is your buying process, and who is the one making that the financial decisions, right? So that's why it is very, very important. Start the foundation right. Understand the client's current situation and needs. Oftentimes, when we go into hurry to do a presentation, we really wanted to show the presentation itself. But after the presentation, we're the one always talking. We don't know what the client need. We don't know what the client are looking for, right? Sometimes they don't know what they need, and you have to create that needs for the client so that they realize they needed it. We're going to talk about that. And you want to understand the client's goals and dreams. If you do not know where they are heading, how can you help them? So you need to know your client, right? Basically, you need to know your client. If you go to a bank, right? If you go to private bank, there's something they call KYC. Before they even open an account for high net worth client, they always have to do a KYC, right? Know your client. We have to do that too. KYC. You have to know your client. Who is your client? Sometimes sometimes you don't even want to help certain client. They're not the ideal client, right? Make it a conversation instead of a presentation. It sounds easy. Sometimes it is difficult to do. So especially for a brand new agent, we are so nervous about giving a presentation. We forgot to listen and understand. So once you be autopilot about understand how to do the presentation, you really want to make sure it is a conversation. So after all, it's you talk, I talk, you talk, right? So these are the key things to remember. Now, I use the standard presentation that Penny uses for the entire hierarchy. It's approved material. Penny have a version that says Dream Builder on it. And this is the old version of that 4-page. It's both coming from Penny's approved material, so you can use it. So when I start this page kind of, every time I do a presentation, I don't create new things. I just do whatever is on it so people can actually duplicate. So we are, as you see the picture, let me just pick Nini, right? Nini, we meet the client, and usually we meet at their home, right? Look at this picture. We sit on the kitchen table. We help the client understand saving, protection, retirement. And we work with hundreds companies that they are A-rated. This is us. So we are a broker, right? And we do 6 things. So you just read it. Cash flow, debt management, emergency fund, proper protection, asset management, and estate preservation. This is presentation, right? I show them what I do. How do I make it a conversation? So out of the 6, meaning which one or 2 can benefit from your family the most for now?
You want me to answer?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe protection and accumulating our assets.
That's excellent. So now I'm engaging Nini and I don't have to guess which part she's interested, right? Uh, I say, well, that's wonderful. We can talk about that. And if the client say, actually one, right? Then I will say, okay, that's excellent, right? So in terms of the cash flow, we can help you look into how to manage the expenses and how to possibly earn additional income, right? So I always let them tell me which one is important so that I know where's the focus. Okay. Page one. That's how I do page one. Um, and I talk about the page two, which is the X curve. So how do I talk about the X curve? Actually, my presentation is really simple. Usually it's just less than 30 minutes. I'm already done because it's not really the presentation, it's getting to know the client, right? So talk about X curve. So let's talk about the X curve right in front of you. I talk about this curve every single day with families. And have you seen this curve before, Nini?
Not really. Maybe you can explain.
Okay. So if you look at we call, well, if you look at the wealth curve, right, the one with a dollar sign in front, you want to see hopefully the curve grow up. But when we are building our wealth, the money is actually leaking away from four different holes, right? Mm. As you can see, number one is called inflation. Meaning, what do you know about inflation? Do you know what's the inflation rate?
I know that when I go to this grocery store, everything is very expensive now.
That is true. When I came to United States, I see the gas price was 99 cents, $1.29, and now it's already 5x, right?
Yeah.
So our money is no longer worth as much.
Mm-hmm.
So inflation, Nini already tell me she understand inflation. So we're agreed on that. Okay. The number two is market risk. Nini, do you have experience with experience with market risk?
Yeah,
do you
sure,
invest?
A little bit.
Okay.
You know, like maybe
what do you invest?
Or something.
401k. How comfortable are you with having the money in the market?
I think I'm okay.
Okay. So are you would you say yourself a risk taker, or you say you are more aggressive, moderate, conservative? Where are you?
Maybe more moderate.
Moderate.
Moderate
okay.
To moderately aggressive. Yeah.
That's good. Well, luckily, you know, you are young. So even if you go a little bit aggressive, you're young, you still have a time. But when you're turning 55, 60 and thinking about retirement, are you comfortable having your money in the market in like today's market or 2008 market?
Probably not.
So most of the time, I already know the answer, right? Because people always say that they're not comfortable with today's volatile market. Mm-hmm. But I don't have to tell them that. They are the one telling me. I don't have to say, oh, the money in the market is so risky. It's not safe. Now it become my message, but I turn it back into you. It becomes Nini's message, right? Mm. So by understanding Nini is going through moderate, maybe a little bit of taking a little bit risk. I say, well, that I already know. Later on, I can use Nini's language, right? So taxes, what do you do to save taxes now, Nini?
Oh, I don't know. What can you do?
That's a great question. What benefit would you have if you understand how to save taxes later on when you retire?
Yeah, I think it would definitely benefit if we can, get to know more about taxes.
That's great. Well, we can talk about that, right? That's what we do here is to help family understand. And the last, you see that stop sign is called health. Have you heard of long-term care?
Yeah, I've heard about it, not sure exactly what it does. Um, but yeah, but I've heard parts of it before.
Okay. So long-term care, we need it when we have a 6 daily activity. And if we're unable to perform 2 of them, then we need somebody to take care of us. Oftentimes it happens to older, when we're getting older, 75% people needing it above age 65. So I give a little bit facts, statistic, not from Nica, but it's a statistic, right? I give a little fact, 75% people needing it after age 65. However, sometimes happen to young people, right? Do you know how much it's going to cost when you're actually needing it? Means you need to hire someone to take care of you.
No idea.
So
What?
it's a lot. Oftentimes people say no idea. And then for older people, usually they say, yeah, it's a lot of money. It's average between 80 to 100 grand, right?
Wow.
You just have to know that number up. Okay. As an agent, you have to know that it's between 80 to 100 grand, depends on the state. Okay. So if you actually need it, where would the money coming from, Nini?
Maybe my kids will take care of me.
Well, that's really good when we're thinking about our kids will take care of us, right? But do you want to give that burden to the kids? Do you feel
Yeah, that's a good point.
so? I don't have to say anything now. Nini is the one telling me she doesn't want to give that burden, so she has something that she needs to do, right? So after these 4, okay, great. We talk about the wealth curve. Now let's look at the responsibility curve. While you have high responsibility, what are the backup plans? Right now, you just had a baby, right? You and your husband, are you both working right now?
Yes.
So you have kids and a home, right? What are your backup plans if there's sickness? 3 million family diagnosed heart attack, stroke, cancer every year. What are your backup plan if there's sickness or unexpected event happen?
I don't know. That would be tough. It's something I haven't thought about because we're, constantly just working.
So at that time, can you still get income? Like
I
the way
guess
that you're getting income right now?
no.
Let's say if you have to go through some treatment, right?
Yeah. No, that'd be hard.
So that's what we do is we help family understand the protection part of it.
I see. Okay.
Right. Okay. So we finished this page. So far, so good. What do I know about Nini now? I know quite a bit of her, right? And that's where you get to know your client. Okay. So now I'm giving her a little bit financial knowledge. Nini, when we talk about the protection, people always ask how much protection do we need, right? How much protection do we need? So there's a way to calculate. It's not we just buy a random protection. We have to understand how much we need. So we have a die method: debt, income, mortgage, and education. So Nini, do you currently own your home?
Yes.
Do you have a mortgage?
Yes.
So we use the mortgage as part of the protection, right? So why would I start with mortgage? Usually, if I say, Nini, how much money did you make last year? It's like, what? Right? People usually feel a little bit hesitant. Okay? Usually. But if you ask people have a mortgage, they usually feel proud because they have a home and they have mortgage, right? So I start with the mortgage part of it. And this is also where I test a little bit about the trust of the people. right? If they don't trust me by that time, they don't want to tell me any information. They probably be like, sometimes they just don't say anything. They already know the trust is still not there yet. But if they started to feel comfortable telling you, oh, I have $350,000 in my mortgage, I say, okay, so that's your responsibility. You're paying for it. And the minute you cannot pay for it, who's going to pay for it? So that's the psychology behind, okay? Mortgage. And I always talk about education if I already know they have kids, right? Because earlier I find out they have the kids. So I said, so in terms of the education, what is your plan? I don't assume you're going to plan for your education, right? I also don't assume you're not going to pay for the education. So I asked, what is your plan, Nini, for education? What is your plan? Are you thinking about helping your kids to attend college? Or you want them to be on their own? What is your plan?
I don't know. I haven't discussed it yet because our kids are so young right now, right? So that's something maybe help in the beginning a little bit, but maybe not for grad school or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So in here, client haven't thought about that, right? So now we need to guide the client to think about it. And I say the reason I ask is if you help the kids to plan for education, we need to know how much it's going to cost after 18 years. Are you planning to send them to private school or public school? Because the cost will be very different, right? So that's why we ask. Now we can come back to this later, but at least I plant a seed, right? So we say this is in case in the next 20 years anything happened to you before you actually saved that much money for the kids' education so that you have a proper protection, that money is enough for kids to go to school. Okay. So now the client understand why I asked that question, right? And I say income, we use the income as income replacement. So usually we get 10 times the income. So when you're no longer there to bring income home, you have 10 times the income. The family have 10 years leeway, right? To continue receive the income even though you're not there. So people understand now why you're having these. Does that make sense? A little bit of education here. Okay. So this is how we calculate the needs. Okay. Next page. So far, so good, everybody?
Yes.
Let's talk about taxes a little bit. Nini, are you familiar with the orange, the blue, and the green? Taxable, tax deferred, tax exempt?
I'm familiar with some of these accounts. Yeah.
That's great. What are some of the things that you know? What are some of the things that you know the name only, but you don't know how it works?
I know bank accounts, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, real estate. I'm guessing that's just real estate. I know IRA, not sure about SEP, 401k. I don't know too much about pensions or annuities. Roth IRA, I've heard of. Roth 401k, kind of heard of. Not too much about municipal bonds or 529 plan or any kind of cash value life insurance.
Okay.
Typical client.
Well, that's excellent. You actually know quite a bit, right? So, what do you have among these accounts?
Our company offers the 401k, and I have a bank account. I like to buy some stocks, a little bit of mutual funds, and that's about it.
That's great. Sounds like most of your money is in orange and blue.
Yeah, that looks right.
So, if you look at the taxes, right, the blue represents the taxes right here. So the orange is you pay taxes every single year, and the blue you pay taxes you don't pay now, but you pay later. And then the green is you pay now, but you don't pay forever. So if you look at this graph, right now your money is all in here, right?
Yeah.
So when you retire, your biggest issue is probably going to be hit by taxes, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So where would you like to put your money?
It looks like I should put more on the third one.
Well, that's great. But how much, how do you have anything here?
No, not currently. I don't think
Okay.
so.
All right. So you mentioned, you know, usually if the client, if you're very, very new, you can't really explain exactly what everything is, then, you know, number one is your licensed agent. I really encourage you just to do a little bit of Googling and to understand what each one is, at least, you know, what it means, you know, because you're a licensed agent, right? Then you can give a simple explanation for the client. Now you say on the green bucket, there are Roth IRA and Roth 401k, right? Roth 401k usually is have to offer by the company. So you cannot just purchase it on your own. Municipal bond, the interest rate is generally not very high. 529, it's education plan. So it's a good plan for certain families. And we can look into if it's actually a good plan suitable for your family. And in terms of cash value life insurance, most families do not know how it works. But it is what most, a lot of mass market do not quite understand how life insurance works, right? So that's lead me into kind of like, let me give you a little bit of introduction of how it works. So I just kind of give a little concept. So if you look at the uncertainty in life, there are uncertainty in life, right? Then I just read this. You have a protection for the insurance part. Most of them, it's a life insurance, so it has death benefit, and but the life insurance today is so advanced, so it does have a living benefit. So if you look at here, it says you have a critical illness, right? And then you have a terminal illness, and then you also have a long-term care. Those are all living benefits. A lot of people think about life insurance as only death benefit, but life insurance today has living benefit. If you don't use these living benefit when you're, when you're younger or when you're older, and you can actually utilize this insurance, remember in here, because it has the tax benefit. It's one of the biggest tax benefit that you can receive, but most people do not know about, besides a Roth IRA, right? You have the cash value that you can grow the money inside the policy completely tax defer, and you can withdraw the money and you can take out as a loan completely tax free. So all the capital gain, you don't have to pay taxes. Downside protection means you will never lose money inside this policy, despite how the market performs. Upside potential, you can get up to 10, 11, 12%, depends on the company. Usually I say, 10 to 12%, depends on the company, because sometimes for certain families, they cannot just qualify one company, certain company cannot qualify. Then I don't want to lock into just one, right? But you can say 12.5% if you just do Transamerica. Flexible saving, it is very flexible. They have a minimum and maximum. This is how the insurance works. So now I go back. I said I explained this, right? So and I come back here. I said this is what we do. This is the first sales presentation. Okay, number one. This is the very first time. So I get some of the information. Then I said, Nini, this is what we do. Any questions?
No, that was very good. Thank you.
Okay. So this is what we can do is the next thing is I actually collect the information. I say, Nini, We are, do you go to a financial, do you go to a doctor on the annual basis?
Yes.
So we do a physical checkup, right? What we
Yeah.
do is we do financial checkup.
Mm.
We're not really just one one thing fits all. There's not a, if people coming to ask me, what is the best product for you right now? I say I don't know, because every single family situation is very different.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we were looking at into your situation and help you to understand your goal, right? Understand what is the information that what is your goal, what is where you're at, and we can help you put up a plan together, blueprint, so that you know exactly when you retire how much money you need to have, and then in the process, if anything happens, and is your family protected?
Mm.
Now, in this process, right, I, I look at Anini's situation because based on what she told me earlier, I probably will actually use, there are two data collection that I do. Okay. One is a simple version data collection. Who do I use for simple version is if I just collect basically income, debt, mortgage, education. So usually for simple version is a people who is fairly straightforward. They have a job. Maybe they have no mortgage, right? They're renting right now and they don't have kids and they just starting out like young people. Simple version is more than enough. You don't have to complicate things. Okay. They're very straightforward. They're making, an income and then they take care of themselves and maybe they don't save at all. Maybe they save something. So I can use a simple version. That's the information I collect because just with that information, I can already calculate the needs for the protection, right? For people who has a job for 20 years, 30 years, they have a family generally, or if they're young, but their family is high net worth, there are a lot of properties or, then I use a little bit more sophisticated version. I use the intake form. So the intake form, we have this in the company website, right? We talk about the sixth part. And then this intake form is pretty detailed. You need to collect all the information for the client, understand their goals and needs, right? And then you understand how much money do they make, income, and then their employment information, emergency funding. Actually, they fill out all the expenses report, right? What are the current debts, credit card, all these different debts, student loan, personal loan, and currently what kind of insurance they have. Sometimes people buy some term, some whole life, and then in here, right? When do you want to retire? How much money do you need to have on a monthly basis to retire? And I collect taxable, tax deferred, tax advantage. I need to know where your money is at right now, so we can help you strategy apply, right? And then do you have a will? Do you have a trust? And then you put so this is more sophisticated. I personally don't use this for every single client just because sometimes you confuses people that they're like, oh my gosh, it's so much. Does that make sense? So, but for some client, you have to use this because their financial situation is a bit more complicated. You just use a simple version. You don't really know what is the best solution to help them. And then, so that's usually my very first meeting. I collect the information, and after I collect the information, then I can go back with a proposal plan. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that difficult? Everybody's so quiet. Maybe you cannot unmute yourself. That's why you're so quiet. Can you unmute yourself? Nobody can unmute?
People say in the comments,